to the Kesh Plasma Reactor Group for Tuesday, October 17th, 2017. I think we can do our usual opening with Lee Coates with some sort of brand new contraption it looks like that he's come up with this week. Let's have a look here. Let's spotlight Lee and see what he has to say. See what he has to declare for himself here. Hi Lee, welcome. How you doing?
Hello everybody. So
once again, you've outshone everyone and come up with yet a new device, it seems like, this week. The device of the week, you might say. Alright, so explain it to us. It's an interesting looking thing.
I guess I can almost get it in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Pussycat Health device.
The Pussycat Health device?
Yep.
Really?
So we got our I got it upside down right now. This is the red one is CH3 ring, so it's supposed to be on the bottom, and so I tied my middle rings on upside down. Big rush to get them tied on before the meeting tonight.
Oh, I see.
And then
okay. Yep.
The copper oxide ring is the blue ring.
Right.
I'm making it out of PEX tubing, just water lines used in your house.
Right.
So you can get blue for cold water and red for hot water. So I just figured I'd make the copper the blue and the CH3 the red, and then the CO2 in the middle the white. So
you've got red, white, and blue.
That's right.
Oh, that's very patriotic. Depending what country you're in. No, that's cool. Yeah, I see that. That's got a neat sort of thing to it. Yeah.
So this one, it's 500 millimeter diameter in the middle, and it's the first one I made was a 600 millimeter, and I took it over next door to get the dogs and the cats to
try it out. Yeah.
Try it out for size and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
I was only over there for about 30 minutes, and they sniffed at it and checked it out, but they didn't want to get inside it just then. So I think they got to get used to it, being around.
You need to put a treat in the middle, and that'll draw them in.
Yeah, and her doggy bed fit in the 600 diameter one just nicely. So for a small dog, 600 millimeter is a good size.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're 2 feet high. This one, it's 22 inches high, and it's 500 diameter, and that's more for cat size.
Mm-hmm.
And on AliExpress you can get these circular doggy beds anywhere from, I don't know, $20 to $40, depending on the diameter of them.
Yeah.
So you can get circular doggy beds to go in them. And so you'll have CO2 gans on the top. I put just a touch of H3 in it just to give it a kick, and then I got there's an inside tube and an outside tube on it.
An outside tube.
Oops, my tubes have all gone inside the. So I got some 1/4 inch tubing in the middle.
Oh.
And you put zinc oxide in the 1/4 inch tubing. Then you got the CO2 in the outside tube.
Uh-huh.
And on the one for the human device, you'd probably put a more concentrated CO2 at the top, less concentrated in the middle, and least concentrated at the bottom to get the flow going from top to bottom. These ones are pretty well all the same. So, I'm just using the PEX fitting to connect the outside tube, because that's nice and watertight.
Yeah.
Inside with the PEX, there was no friggin' way I could get the inside tube connected. So what I did is I just got the torch and melted the end and crimped it. They melt together. Okay. So I got sort of a big U-shaped inside tube, and I don't see a reason why we'd have to connect them. Really, we're not getting the flow going around in the circle.
Well,
It's more for strength from inside to outside.
right.
Is what I was thinking.
If you look at it electrically, it makes a big difference, because that big C shape becomes a resonating length. So whatever length that is will be its resonating frequency. But if it's continuous in a circle, you lose that resonance. It no longer bounces from one end to and around and back and reflects back the other way and so on. So one is a resonating structure, and the loop is more of a, let's say, just a different. It's like magnets are that way too. If you have an opening in a ring magnet, then you have a north and south pole at that opening. But if you don't have that opening, then it changes the poles and the way it works and so on.
In this application, would you see any problem of?
I don't think so. No, because
ring separate.
No, I think it's not joined. I think it's more the plasmatic flow we look at here, and that becomes sort of it can pass through materials and skip over things and so on. So it's not necessarily as critical, and it could have an interesting effect. Mate, what if it does set up a certain pulse because of that C shape? Essentially, if you had maybe a plasma inside your inner tube and it was flowing through and it reached that closed end, perhaps it would reflect back and head the other way and to the other closed end and reflect back and set up a resonating superconducting structure. Or not.
Anyway, I'm using PEX because I got the tools to crimp.
Oh, you've got the tool, yes, the one you have to rent for about $40 at the shop and buy for a large amount of money. That's quite an industry.
Yeah, well, it's not that much money these days. Home Depot sells them for, they're under $100. I forget what they are. I bought it a long time ago.
Yeah, it's still $25 to rent, though.
Well, it depends how many of these you're going to build or how often you're going to use it, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's a great way to go. It's a nice clean way to crimp those fittings on, and you don't have clamps, seat clamps and that, or screw clamps and that kind of thing. Okay, yeah.
So one of the things I had to figure out was how I needed the ring on the bottom, but then I had to connect the upright tube. Mm-hmm. And first I had some plumbing fitting that clamped over the outside, looked ugly as heck. And then I said, well, what if I get a T-fitting and put some, just fill the one with epoxy. So I got a piece of tubing that slides in there, so the epoxy doesn't get into the other part of the fitting.
Yeah.
And when you pour the, this one's filled with epoxy, and then you can just pull that out.
Or it also gives you an opportunity, I guess, to have that vertical tube also become part of the same plasma fluid as the bottom tube, or top tube in this case, with it all reversed.
In this case, I'm going to ship them to Winnipeg to my sister and my niece, who my brother-in-law is a vet, and my niece raises dogs for a living. She's I don't know, there's some kind of poodle cross thing she sells for $1,500 a piece. And so I plug that off, so I got the ring around the bottom. Then I can slip the other tube over, and I just drill a hole and put a screw in there. In that to hide this on. So basically for shipping, this thing will flatten down to 4 inches high or something. And
yeah, that makes a big difference.
And it can be shipped and then assembled at the other end. So anyway, that'll lift up, and then I'm just using parachute line to tie on there keep the middle rings in place. And I'm still for dogs, they can get in here, it lifts up pretty easy. They could get in there, lift that up and get inside. That's that's no worse than them going out a doggy door and a door, their own little doggy door.
Yeah, it looks fairly
safe. They can get in and out of there pretty easy.
Yeah.
And course, cats can get anywhere.
They'll want to climb all over it, probably. Maybe you should make it that way.
So there's a question, if it's going to set separately out in the room without the doggy bed in it, you might have to put a piece of plywood on the bottom and clamp it to it, like a circular piece of plywood, just to give it some weight or something. But
yeah. I wonder how do dogs feel about if there's one dog in there and you put another dog in? Would they feel okay about being in the bed of the dog that's already been there, or do they have issues with the other having their own
when I send it to my sister, I'll find out, because she's got three little dogs.
Right. Well, one of them might take to it and sort of claim it as his own or something and really like it. And maybe some won't or whatever. It'd be really interesting to find out the dog psychology.
The alpha female might claim it. That's right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, that's well. Yeah, definitely keep us posted on what happens there, and having a veterinarian in the family helps a lot too. Might be able to get some sort of report back on it.
When I took it over to the neighbor next door, I mean, she knew nothing about plasma or anything, so it was. She sort of rolled her eyes and said, "Oh yeah," a little bit, but tried to explain it to her best as I could.
Yeah.
And, but my brother-in-law, the vet, I've put him car mag-grav in his car when I was down there last spring, and he's getting 30 to 40% savings. So he's got an old car. So, and my niece is getting 30 to 40%. That's their daughter.
Well, that's great.
So they already know that there's something going on that works.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be fairly open to it.
Well, they should be able to tell if they are used to animals, which sounds like they are, and they know the behavior of their animals and so on. They should be able to tell relatively quickly whether there's a change in their behavior. Are they happier when they spend some time in this unit? You know, do they tend to hang out with it or tend to go the opposite direction and so on? Usually you can get some pretty direct and immediate feedback with animals. They don't try to hide their feelings so much as humans do. So
yeah.
So yeah, it could be very revealing what happens there.
Yep. So we're in testing stage right now. I'm going to take one of the units back over to my neighbors and let it sit there for 2 or 3 days and see get a report back of what happens. Because she's got 3 cats and a dog over there. So.
Right on.
Any questions?
Yeah, Denny's almost always has a question for you on this. Denny, what do you think? If you were a dog, would you jump inside?
It's looking good. And so it's a lot of fun. So I guess you got your human one made?
Well, I haven't made the human one yet. That's this 32-inch ring.
Is that a hula hoop?
That's my hula hoop device made of PEX pipe.
Actually, now that you mention it, a hula hoop might be a way to go. Humans are used to that size, that's for sure. And I see that they have hula hoops for sale now for some strange reason. I haven't seen them for years, but they're now for sale at our old favorite Canadian Tire and places like that now.
Yeah, so for the human one, what I was thinking for the first go around, I was just going to cut a circle out of plywood and ceiling. If you take it down, it's easy to plug 3 screw holes in a stipple ceiling, and not bother with building frame, you know, to support it with. And
so just to recap, you would have 3 like hooks on the ceiling or something, and then 3 strings or ropes, or probably this parachute cord coming down. Is that what you're saying? And then
I was just going to cut a circle out of plywood and screw that plywood direct to the ceiling with 3 screws.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But you could use hooks. That might be a better way to do it. I wasn't thinking about hooks.
Then the plywood, what would come down from the plywood? Is that where the strings?
If you had hooks, you wouldn't need the plywood. You could just have a loop on the end of the string and just set it up there, and then you could take it down and put it in the
see.
closet. You know.
So
Right, yeah.
Rick saved you some time and some effort, didn't he?
He did.
Well, it depends on your ceiling though, because if you might have to screw something round to it in order for things to line up properly, because you might only have a 2x4 along a certain length or something that.
Yeah, there'll be rafters in the ceiling, and so all you have to do is find the width of the difference of the studs. Sometimes they're 24, sometimes they're 16. Then you're going to have to figure out where you might put your third hook. Could be in a wrong spot, but of course you know what you could do. In that case, you could find the two rafters and then run a string from one hook to the other, and then the cord down.
Yeah, I'd probably go four string or 4 ropes on the human one. That way I'd hit 2 rafters, and these things will slide sideways on the pipes to align it with whatever the floor joists are above or the rafters. So
very, very productive. So you use the PEX tube, and then you put a 1/4 inch plastic like air pump tube in the middle, in the center.
Yeah, it's just the 1/4 inch pipe you get at Home Depot. The you can get the clear stuff, and this is the white stuff. I don't know what. See if it's got a label on it.
Well, you could
forget what kind of plastic is. The label doesn't really say.
You could use a.
Oh, there it is. Poly. I'm using
polypropylene.
That stuff there that you buy at home.
You could probably use an aquarium coupling in that tubing there too, so you don't have to crimp the end. How did that work?
Well, the thing you can actually put another piece of pipe over top of this. It's a perfect fit for another piece of pipe, but you need about 8 hands, because this PEX tubing wants to spread the spring apart on you, and then you got to get in there and crimp it together, and then the PEX tubing's also got that end on it as well that sort of mucks you up a little bit. If you had another slip joint on this outside tubing, then you wouldn't have to. You'd have that extra length together. It was those jobs where you needed 6 hands in there.
Yeah, you like that. You like that PEX joint. That made it nice for you.
Well, that makes it nice and watertight, and the PEX pipe is really sturdy. It's not like the other tubing is flexible a bit. So for pets and dogs, a sturdy tube is the way to go, and then the dogs can get in and out under it, and no problem.
And the humans will be able to slide up in and out of it too.
Yeah.
When you have it hanging from the ceiling.
So what do you think the total cost is of this? How many feet of PEX tubing do you have, and how much is it? Of course, you had to get the blue and the red. That's 2 separate lengths, I suppose. But
well, for which version? For the pet one or the human one?
The one we're looking at here, say. It's what, maybe 3 lengths of PEX tubing or something, or how long would they be?
Well, these will be. I didn't measure these. I just I got circles drawn on the workbench down in the shop, and I sort of cut it to fit. I didn't measure it. I just used the one tube as a template for cutting the others. But they're about 7. I would guess about 7 feet long. So you got 5 times 7. That's 35 feet plus another 6. That's 41 feet. So I don't know. It comes in 250-foot rolls and 100-foot rolls and 25-foot rolls. And so you might have to get 2 25s or something to make this version.
Oh, I see. You got it in a roll. I thought it would be in a straight length. Okay.
No, which should be I don't know. Let's say $20 a roll for the smaller rolls. I think it's maybe 15. So that's about $40, and the fittings are $1 a piece. So you got 6, 7, 8, 9 fittings. so there's $10. So you're looking at, and then you got to buy the parachute rope, another $5. So, you know, it's, what's that all add up to? About 50, 60 bucks?
60 bucks or something in materials.
Then if you buy the dog bed to go in the middle, there's another 20 bucks. So 70 bucks, 75 bucks, somewhere in there.
I think it's I can't think of really a more economical way to do this same kind of device. I mean, PEX tubing is pretty inexpensive as far as that goes for building material, and you have to have some kind of enclosure for the gans water material. And you have to have a support, and this is a pretty easy way to support it, and you have to have a way to make it easy to get in and out of, and that parachute cord works pretty good that way.
Yeah, I mean, you could use PVC pipe too, but you'd have to build yourself a form and heat it up to make turn it into a circle, okay? Which is doable. That's not a problem either. Or you get the clear vinyl flexible tubing. I've seen a lot of people using that to make them, which is, for guys without tools, that would be an easy way to go.